Hello and welcome back to the Movie Attic. I'm Mike, and as I've said before, this is the Attic where I discuss and review movies, DVDs, Blu-Rays, and 4Ks for all the nice people out there in YouTube land. I know what you're thinking. Holy rip, it hasn't been long enough since your last video. We haven't gotten over being sick since then. But what can I tell you? For some reason, I'm on a slight roll. But anyway, regardless of that, today's big movie is, as you can probably tell, another Godzilla review. It is Godzilla vs. Biollante. Of course, this just came out in 4K from Criterion. So I thought, what better time to review it? Younger people might not realize that early on in DVDs and Blu-Rays, these movies were kind of hard to get, like all of them, because the distribution rights were chopped up into, like, I think 4 or 5 different companies had the distribution rights to, just little pockets of the movies, so you couldn't get all of them, and some were harder to find than others. This was one that was harder to find. So initially, I had the VHS tape of it, by the way, but initially I got this Japanese release back in the day, and then the company that had the rights, Miramax, had a release of it. Of course, this is the Blu-ray, this is the DVD, which is actually my son's. I just thought I'd bring it up to show that there was both a DVD and Blu-ray release of it. Japan did have a 4K release of it in the same style as those, but I opted not to get that at the time because the whole deal with them not being English subtitles. This movie I'm less familiar with, so it was a bigger deal not having the subtitles. So when Criterion announced that they were releasing this 4K version of it, I was, of course, very happy. There's the back with all the information and probably a little bit about the story. Of course, there's the 4K disc and the Blu-ray disc. It's one of those Criterion releases, if I can get it out, that has the folding, doesn't have an actual book, has a folding poster type thing. There's all the information. It comes with that, and then it's got this giant poster of Biollante with the Godzilla right there in the background. I did like the poster, although I don't necessarily care for these fold-out deals. And I don't think it has much in the way of like really background artwork underneath the disc. And of course, as of late, I have this sheet of paper with all the vital stats for all those, interested in the vital stats. It's from 1989. It's 104 minutes in color. It's got a 5.0 surround sound. It's in Japanese, of course, with English subtitles. It's got a 1:8:5 aspect ratio. And I think all the special features, except the commentary, is on the Blu-ray disc. Now, some people will be put off by this release, of course, because it doesn't have an English dub. For some reason, Toho seems like they haven't been real anxious to put out these old English dub versions of their movies. But if you get the Miramax version, it actually has 3 audio options and I think 3 subtitle options. So, if you're not keen on the best picture quality, that might be an option for people that don't like subtitles, of course. The story basically is, and as you probably know, I'm terrible at telling these stories about the movie. Basically, the movie picks up where the previous movie left off, which was Godzilla. Depending on where you are, it was either The Return of Godzilla, Godzilla 1985, Godzilla 1984, or I think the original Japanese title was just Gojira, like the original 1954 movie. So it picks up right where the last one left off, and these scientists, or I don't even know if they were scientists, they were trying to find pieces of Godzilla to get his cells. Then they were going to make this biological weapon to use against Godzilla using his own cells. The main scientist, Dr. Shiragami, he lost his daughter in a lab explosion because all these people are fighting over these Godzilla cells. So he's trying to engineer a plant out of Godzilla cells plus adding his daughter's cells into the mix. So you have like plant cells, Godzilla cells, and the essence of his daughter. Which this is a theme kind of in a roundabout way in an older Godzilla movie. If you've ever seen Terror of Mechagodzilla, the daughter of that scientist had an accident where she was kind of saved by the aliens in that movie, but regardless of that. So then the rest of the movie is basically trying to use these cells to defeat Godzilla. In the meantime, Biollante is trying to defeat Godzilla as well, and that's kind of a reoccurring theme in some Godzilla movies in the future, where you have I think it was Tokyo SOS and Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, where they were using something from Godzilla to make a weapon to use against Godzilla, and that kind of actually draws him out instead of, keeping him at bay. There's a psychic in this movie, which that'll become a theme later on. The same psychic's in, I think, 2 more movies in this. And this is the second movie in the Heisei era. And it's one of only 2 Godzilla movies made in the 1980s. So at the end of this movie, and I don't want to spoil anything, like I say, they're using these bioweapons, and also there was this craft that they had built from the Godzilla 1985 called what was it called? The Super X2. So that vehicle got damaged in that first movie. They kind of revamp it for this movie, and they use that as well against Godzilla. So there you have it. I know that's probably not as... I'm sure you can find trailers on YouTube, because like I said, these descriptions I have of the movie are probably terrible. I should probably just read them off the back of the box. It's a Criterion release, like I say. It's spine number 1254. It has Biollante, which is one of those monsters that has stages to it, like the Smog Monster. Destroya is one that has several stages in it. Oh, I know one thing too that kind of takes me out of some of these movies. It seems like for some reason some of the voice actors they get, or not voice actors, but some of the actors that actually speak English, and I don't know why they are like some of the worst acting I've seen. So anyway, I guess the big question is this: does this release look better than the previous Blu-ray? And I popped the previous Blu-ray in to check that out because that's how dedicated I am to this stuff. To me, it looked miles above the previous Blu-ray. There's no HDR, or Dolby Vision, or any of that, or even Dolby Atmos. But it looked a lot more crisp. Some of the special effects, of course, you could tell a little more because of how, the clarity. But overall, a lot of shots looked really good. And if you know these 4K releases, like the ones I showed in a previous episode, none of them have HDR or Dolby Vision or Dolby Atmos or any of that stuff. So that seems to be the thing that Toho's doing. Toho basically didn't, Criterion really didn't do anything towards this. It was all the 4K 4K digital restoration by Toho itself. So, obviously the US versions of, the 2014 Godzilla and Godzilla X Kong, obviously they got Dolby Vision and, HDR, but they weren't made, they weren't made specifically by Toho. So I'm assuming that's what we can expect from any further 4K releases of the older, the Showa era and the Heisei era, maybe even the Millennium series. So adding all that together, of course, if you don't like subtitles, none of that might matter, the clarity or any of that. And of course, there's a little, like I've said in previous episodes too, there's a little dip in quality when certain special effects are used, just because that's the nature of the special effects. But like I say, overall, this is a vast improvement, I think, over the Blu-ray. So, if I was to rate this movie, and like I say, it's not one of my favorite Godzilla movies, although it has moved up a few notches. I've watched it twice for this review, and I don't think I ever really got into the story before. And usually if I can find a couple characters that I really like, then I can overlook some things. And I found a couple of characters in this one that I really started to like. So I was debating all day what I was going to give this movie. So I think I've settled on 7.5 rolls of pink insulation out of 10. Like I say, it's a pretty good improvement over the previous Blu-ray by Miramax. And as always, if you've seen this movie, you bought this on opening day, I actually got this at my local Barnes & Noble. They had it, and if you know anything about that stuff, usually when these things first come out, they have a 30% off sticker. which makes them a little more reasonable, and you don't have to necessarily wait for a flash sale or the Criterion Barnes & Noble 50% off sale to pick this stuff up. So yeah, if you've seen this, or you have this, or you have any of the previous releases, leave a comment down in the comments section. Like I say, I'd love to discuss it. I've been a Godzilla fan for at least 45 years, if not more. I was 20 years old when this movie came out. So, there you have it. I probably won't watch it again until I do that whole thing where I run through all the movies once more. So, until next time when I have a completely different movie in the attic, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.